In the heart of West Africa, where the savannah meets the forest, lies a city with a story unlike any other. Ilorin. Today, a bustling metropolis in Nigeria was once a frontier town of the mighty Oyo Empire, but in 1824, a single act of betrayal changed its destiny forever. This is the story of Afonja, the fearless general who defied his king, forged dangerous alliances and paid the ultimate price. His assassination marked the end of Yoruba control in Ilorin and the rise of a Fulani Emirate that would reshape the region's history. In this video, we would explore the rise and fall of Afonja, the political intrigue of the Oyo Empire, the religious and cultural shifts that followed, and how this moment still echoes in Nigeria today. So let's begin. To understand Afonja's story, we must first understand the world he lived in. The Oyo Empire was one of the most powerful and sophisticated states in West Africa. At its height in the 17th and 18th centuries, it stretched from present-day southwestern Nigeria into parts of Benin and Togo. Its influence extended across trade routes, religious centers, and military outposts. The empire was governed by a complex political system. At the top was the Alaafin, the king who ruled with the support of the Oyomesi, a council of 7 powerful chiefs. And these chiefs acted as a check on the king's power, ensuring that no ruler could become a tyrant. But the true enforcer of the empire's will was the Are-Ona-Kakanfo, the supreme military commander. This title was not just ceremonial, it was sacred, dangerous, and deeply respected. The Are was expected to never return from battle defeated. If he did, tradition demanded that he take his own life. Afonja held this title. He was not just a warrior, He was the embodiment of Oyo military pride. His reputation stretched across the empire. Brave, strategic, and charismatic, Afonja was feared by enemies and admired by allies. Ilorin, his hometown, was a strategic frontier post. It guarded the northern edges of the empire and served as a buffer against external threats. But it was also a place of ambition where local leaders dreamed of autonomy. Afonja's rise to power was marked by bravery, charisma, and a growing desire to rule Ilorin as his own kingdom. The turning point came when Alaafin Aole, the king of Oyo, ordered Afonja to attack a town called Ile. The town was sacred. It was believed to be protected by a deadly curse. No commander had dared to attack it. Afonja refused, though. This act of defiance was unprecedented. It wasn't just a military decision, it was a political statement. Afonja was challenging the authority of the king, as at the time. With the support of other chiefs, Afonja sent Alaafin Aole the symbolic empty calabash, a traditional Yoruba gesture that meant the king had lost the confidence of his people and must commit suicide. Aole complied. He took his own life as tradition demanded. But the empire was shaking. The balance of power had shifted. Afonja had proven that the military could override the monarchy. He returned to Ilorin not as a loyal servant of Oyo, but as a man with his own vision. Afonja began to rule Ilorin independently. He refused to recognize the authority of the new Alaafin. He recruited warriors, fortified the town, and declared himself as the the true power in the north. But ruling a frontier town came with challenges. Afonja needed allies, and that's when he made a decision that would change everything. To secure his position, Afonja invited Alimi, a Fulani Islamic scholar and preacher, to settle in Ilorin. Alimi and his followers were part of a larger movement sweeping across West Africa, the Fulani Jihad, led by Usman Dan Fodio in the Sokoto Caliphate. The Fulani were spreading Islam and establishing emirates across the region. They were organized, disciplined, and ideologically driven. Afonja saw them as allies. He believed their presence would strengthen Ilorin militarily and spiritually. At first, the alliance worked. The Fulani helped Afonja consolidate power. They brought religious legitimacy and new recruits. So Ilorin became a center of Islamic learning. Mosques were built. Arabic texts were studied. The town began to change, but slowly their influence grew. They began to settle in large numbers. They preached, converted, and built networks. Afonja's own army, the Jamas, made up of slave warriors, started to align with Alimi's teachings. The general was losing control of his town forces. The Fulani were no longer just guests. They were becoming rulers. So in 1824, the inevitable happened. Afonja, once the most powerful man in Ilorin, was betrayed. His own Jamas, warriors he had trained and trusted, turned against him. Many had become loyal to Alimi and the Fulani cause. The assassination was swift and brutal. Afonja was killed not by the foreign invaders, but by those within his own ranks. Ilorin fell into Fulani hands. Alimi's son, Abdasalam, became the first emir of Ilorin. The city pledged allegiance to the Sokoto Caliphate, becoming a Fulani Emirate. The Yoruba were pushed out of power. The city's identity changed overnight, Afonja's dream of independence had become a nightmare. So under Fulani rule, Ilorin transformed. It became a center of Islamic scholarship, trade, and military strength. Many mosques replaced shrines. Arabic replaced Yoruba in official records. The emirate expanded its influence, subjugating nearby towns and villages. So in 1837, Ilorin's forces destroyed Oyole, the old capital of the Oyo Empire. This act symbolized the final collapse of Oyo's dominance. Ilorin resisted British colonization for decades. It wasn't until 1897 that the emirate formally recognized British rule. But even under colonial administration, Ilorin remained unique, a Yoruba city ruled by a Fulani emir. The city's architecture, language, and customs reflected this dual heritage. Afonja's story is remembered as a tragedy. He was a hero who became a cautionary tale. His ambition led him to defy a king, forge dangerous alliances, and ultimately lose everything. But his legacy is complex. Some see him as a visionary who tried to free Ilorin from imperial control, Others see him as a man blinded by pride who underestimated the power of ideology and religion. His assassination marked the beginning of a new era, one that blended Yoruba and Fulani cultures, but also created lasting tensions. So today, Ilorin's traditional ruler is a Yoruba-speaking Fulani emir. The city's architecture, language, and customs reflect this dual heritage. Afonja's name lives on, in songs, in stories, and in silence. His story is taught in schools, remembered in oral traditions and debated by historians. He remains one of the most enigmatic figures in Nigerian history. So in modern Nigeria, the story of Afonja still resonates. It speaks to the complexities of identity, power, and religion. It reminds us that history is not just about battles, it's about choices. Ilorin today is a thriving city home to millions. It's a place where Yoruba and Fulani coexist, where tradition meets modernity. But beneath the surface, the memory of Afonja lingers. His fall is a reminder of how quickly power can shift, how alliances can turn into invasions, and how history is shaped not just by victors but by those who dared to dream. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time. The assassination of Afonja in 1824 was more than a political event. It was a turning point in West African history. It marked the end of one empire and the rise of another. It transformed Ilorin from a Yoruba stronghold into a Fulani Emirate. But most of all, it reminds us of the fragile nature of power. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. There are many more stories awaiting to be told. Stories of courage, betrayal, and resilience. This has been the fall of Afonja, how Ilorin became a Fulani Emirate. Until next time, remember, history is not just about the past, it's about understanding the present. See you in the next video.